Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. Thank you very much for registering, and welcome to everyone, whether you're joining us live today or on replay. So we're here today, KIK, along with our partner Use, to talk about how AP automation can support fraud protection for your organisation. Chelsea?
Yeah, no problem. Hi, everyone. We're just going to go into some quick housekeeping updates before we begin. Now, in the GoToWebinar platform, we want to make things interactive, and you have a chat functionality. You also have a questions box. So at any time during today's webinar, if you do have questions, feel free to write those in. We will see them popping up live, and we're going to take some time at the end of today's presentation to answer those questions. If we don't have time to get to everyone's questions in the live presentation, don't worry, because one of the specialists working hard to get those answers to you will be reaching out to you one-on-one. Just to test that everything's working well so far, if you can hear us, if you can see the screen, write to us in the chat with a hello, or maybe let us know where you're listening from today. Also, at the end of the presentation, if you'd like to give us your feedback, you can answer in and give us that feedback and let us know how we did. And also, don't worry if you miss anything from today's presentation. We will be recording this session and we'll be sharing it with everyone so you can watch it again. And if you'd like, you can share it along to your teammates and your peers. Okay, now that we've gone into some quick housekeeping, let's go over today's agenda so we know exactly what we're going to be covering. First up, we're going to go into some quick introductions where Chris and I will introduce KIK and Use, and then we're going to go into understanding the landscape of financial fraud so we can understand it a little bit more before moving on to find out more about how businesses can prevent fraud in many different ways. After this, we'll go deeper into AP automation and its role in fraud prevention. And finally, we'll go over some other useful application features for fraud prevention. After that, I'm going to go into a quick demo of the solution so you can see how the solution works in real time. And then we'll go again, like I mentioned, into a live Q&A. So feel free, if you do have those questions, we'll be saving them for the end. All right, let me quickly introduce myself before I hand it back over to you, Chris. My name is Chelsea Adrian. I'm the product evangelist at Use, and I'm also an AP automation expert working closely with many teams across the UK and in various other different countries to really help you get your project started, implement adapted strategies. And I know that especially this year, moving into next year, a lot of companies are focusing on fraud and fraud prevention. And so it's really important to start learning a little bit more about how technology can work to our advantage. See how a lot of different companies today are benefiting from things like automatic fraud protections within automation solutions. So today I'm really happy to dive a little bit deeper into this hot topic with Chris. So Chris, I'll pass it back over to you if you want to introduce yourself and then maybe introduce KIK for everyone.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Chelsea. So my name's Chris Burnside, and I'm an account manager in the KIK Infor team. So working with customers across the UK that have Sun Systems for their finance solution. And really, we're starting to see a real increase in interest for AP automation. And obviously, fraud's a massive concern for all organisations at the moment. So really happy to be here to talk to everyone about Use, as it's a relatively new partnership for KIK. It's an exciting partnership, and because Use were already partnered with Infor Sun Systems, it was a logical next step for KIK to extend our relationship with Infor to incorporate Use into the products we're offering customers. So we've really found we've enjoyed working with Use so far. The software itself is been designed specifically for the cloud, having the cloud in mind, which makes it really flexible and adaptable in today's market. And it's really intuitive, it's easy to use, it's really flexible, and it's got a lovely, fresh, modern interface. So the customers we've spoken to about it so far have been really impressed. So a good initial start.
Thank you so much, Chris. We're really excited to be working together with you. I know from firsthand the projects that I've seen so far working within the Sun Systems ERP. It's really, really exciting what I've been seeing so far. So let me just give everyone a quick introduction to Use before we move on into our first section of today's webinar, where we're really focusing on fraud prevention and how automation can help your team. So first up, just to give you some key numbers about Use, we are an AP automation and e-invoicing platform. We were created back in 2010, so 14 years ago now. And the whole goal behind the creation of Use was really to open up the door to any company, no matter your size, no matter the industry that you're working in, to be able to take advantage of this type of advanced technology to automate your full P2P process. And so this concept, which is based off of the number or the volume of documents that you process each month, has really started growing quite rapidly, I would say. We've been growing about 40% each year. We've now expanded to 2 different headquarters in Europe and also in the United States. And we're now available across many different countries, 40 different countries now to be precise. We're working with more than 5,000 clients. And within these clients, we work with different types of firms, like accounting firms who treat their clients' documents, because we have 2 editions with Use, a business edition to treat your own documents, or an expert edition for accounting firms who are processing their clients' documents. So all in all, we've processed more than 200 million documents through the Use platform, which is where we get the big database to fuel the smart system that we've created. And we're very dedicated to technological development and innovation here at Use. It's really part of what we do in our DNA. And so we've been producing many different scientific publications about different technologies like artificial intelligence, machine and deep learning, and automatic document recognition. As this is our one and only focus that we have here at Use, it really is something that sets us aside. And I myself love educating the community about technologies. We're producing lots of white papers, doing lots of master classes, so we can really help the finance community to get started with your project. This next slide is just to show some logos of the different clients that we're working closely with to automate their P2P process. And we really want everyone to have access to a tool, like Chris was saying, something that's adaptable to anyone, no matter the industry you're working in. And as you can see, we're working with a very diverse group of clients that are spread across all different industries. Something that's unique about Use is that there are no licenses involved. So that means that you can actually build an unlimited number of users and an unlimited number of entities or units within Use. And there's no limit to this. There's no license or extra fees to our clients. So that's why a lot of businesses like accounting firms or companies that have a multi-site organization take advantage of this type of subscription. But we're also working very closely with smaller size companies as well that are maybe processing only about 50 to 100 documents per month and are growing and expanding their business. Now here on this last introduction slide, it's just to show a couple other aspects that are really important to us here at Use. Like I mentioned, we're working closely with top accounting firms that trust Use. They use the system for their own bookkeeping, but also recommend the system to their clients. And they're giving us lots of valuable feedback that we've been taking over the years, and we're consistently reincorporating new features and functionalities back into the system to improve the processing each day. And we have also been recognized over the years as a top accounting solution provider. The idea is that Use is going to link up with your current ERP system. We connect seamlessly with Sun Systems, also within the Microsoft family, and now up to 250 different ERP solutions. So the idea is that those 2 solutions you're working with are going to work seamlessly together as one. All right, that'll give you a quick background about Use, a little bit more about who we are and what we do and why we're so passionate about helping people. Let's now go into our topic today. And to start it off, we thought it would be good to take a look a little bit back at the basics about fraud, diving really into the landscape of today and the financial fraud that's taking place, especially what it's looking like in the UK. But before we begin, we really want to make things a little bit more interactive. So we want to allow you to interact and participate in the webinar today. So we're going to launch a poll question that you can feel free to answer back to us in the chat, and we'll be keeping our eyes out on the chat. So we want to know, which of the following figures do you think represents the percentage of mid-sized UK businesses that have been impacted by fraud within the last 5 years? Do you think it's A, 20% of UK businesses, B, 50%, C, 60%, or D, 80%. Now, let us know what you think in the chat. And Chris, I wanted to turn it back to you. I know you're working closely with a lot of people that are tuning in today, and also you're helping a lot of different companies with their projects. What do
Mm.
you think, if you had to guess, that the
Uh,
audience would maybe say as far as
I'd be
fraud?
surprised if they said 20%. I think it'd be certainly towards the higher numbers. But I think we might actually be surprised by how high it is.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you because so many companies are being affected by fraud today. We actually do an internal survey at Use, and we saw that 70% of the respondents said that they had been affected by fraud in their
Mm.
accounts payable department at least once. And I know accounts payable can sometimes be seen as an easy target for fraudsters. So let's take a look at the chat. I'm keeping my eye over here. I see quite a few people are answering in B and C, saying 50%, saying 60%. So let's now take a look and see what the report shows. Thank you all so much for participating in the chat. Let's now take a look. All right, I think some of you might be shocked to find out that it is actually indeed 80%. 80% of businesses in the UK that have experienced some kind of fraud within the past few years. And that's an enormous figure, but it really demonstrates today why this is becoming so important to make sure that our companies, our organizations have some kind of fraud protection system in place sooner rather than later. And of course, technology has a big role to play in this. While of course, it's undeniable that the digital transformation that we're all going through currently taking place within our workplaces. We can see it. This has changed our lives. Many think for the better. We have higher rates of productivity thanks to technologies, efficiency as well, and many have decreased costs thanks to technology. But on the other side, it's also allowed for more sophisticated fraud schemes and higher amounts to be stolen from within our businesses. Actually, recently, according to a BDO survey from last year, the value of reported fraud in the UK was £2.3 billion. That was actually an increase of 104% compared to that previous year, back in 2022, with companies losing on average around £219,000. Now, technology isn't the only thing that's having an impact on fraud. BDO also unveiled that actually 73% of businesses feel more exposed to fraud due to the current cost of living crisis in the UK. Now, this is becoming more and more important, of course, to watch out for fraud, watch out for fraudulent attempts. But you might be asking yourself, what are actually the different types of fraud? How are people in this sense, fraudsters, how are they able to commit their fraudulent attempts? So there are many, many different categories of fraud, like, for example, healthcare fraud, corruption, cyber fraud, and many other different categories. But since today we're really focusing in on fraud that's committed within our financial processes, let's go just a few are up on the board. We can see some of them here. Let's go through these main types of fraud when it comes to our financial processes and our finance department. Now, up on the top, first off, we have accounting fraud. Now, this is involving manipulating financial records or statements to deceive stakeholders about the financial health or the performance of a company. This type of fraud often includes deliberate misrepresentation of financial information, such as, for example, inflating revenues, understating expenses, or overstating assets within a company. Now, accounting fraud can be perpetrated by either individuals within the company or may involve collusion with external parties as well. And I think it's also worth highlighting at this point that according to this BDO survey that we were just covering, 69% of fraud cases reported by companies are actually committed by a combination of purely internal sources, like employees, as well as collusion between internal and external individuals. So that means that only 31% of fraud cases are externally generated. I think that this is fascinating because a lot of companies today assume that fraud is coming from an external source when we can clearly see that that's not the case. Next up on the list, we have asset misappropriation. This occurs when individuals within an organization steal or misuse company assets for personal gain. And this type of fraud can take various forms, including embezzlement, theft of inventory or equipment, or misuse of company credit cards or expense accounts. After this, up on our list, we can see is identity theft, which some of you or many of you might have heard of. This is involving using another person's personal information without their consent to commit fraud or other crimes, including maybe opening up unauthorized accounts, applying for loans or credit cards, or making unauthorized purchases. This, in the end, can have really serious financial and personal consequences for the victim, including damage to not only their credit score, but also to their financial reputations. And finally, on our list of basic financial fraud terms, we have invoice fraud. When individuals or businesses issue false or fraudulent invoices to deceive others into making payments for goods or services that were not provided or were maybe overpriced. This can include creating fictitious invoices, altering legitimate invoices, impersonating legitimate suppliers, or even the duplication of existing invoices to try and get people to pay twice. Now, this can also result in financial losses for businesses and, of course, damage to their reputation if customers or suppliers discover this deception. Now, speaking of these key areas of fraud and risk prevention, now that we've gone over the basics of these kind of basics within fraud, you might be wondering how you can apply fraud prevention across all of these areas of your business, including on an organizational level, on a behavioral level, and also on a technological level. So that now brings us into this next section of how businesses can prevent fraud. So we've taken a look a little bit deeper about what fraud currently looks like in the UK, the different types of fraud that are being committed. And the next obvious question, like I said, is how can we as a business, as an organization, prevent fraud? Now, fraud prevention entails implementing a multifaceted approach that addresses, like I mentioned, three different levels within our organization. So at an organizational level, behavioral level, and technological level. And this is really helping companies today to deter, detect, and respond to fraudulent activities more effectively. So let's go a little bit deeper into these three key areas. Now, up on the screen, you can see divided into three groups these next sections. So first, we can see in yellow is preventing fraud on an organizational level. Now, at an organizational level, this involves establishing structures, policies, and mechanisms that promote transparency, accountability, and compliance. It's really important to be setting clear expectations and creating really a culture of integrity. Businesses can then hope to minimize opportunities for fraudulent activities to occur. Just to give you a couple or a few more in-depth examples of this, firstly, we have establishing clear policies and procedures. This means developing and enforcing comprehensive policies and procedures as well, governing your financial transactions, expense reporting, procurement, and even supplier management as well. Having these clear guidelines really help employees to understand the expectations that you've set forward and also to help reduce the opportunities for fraud that can arise. Next is the aspect of strengthening supervision and governance within our organizations. Just establishing supervision can take place in many different ways, like maybe establishing committees or even internal audit teams that are responsible for monitoring compliance with policies and also with your procedures that you've set up. Also, integrating regular reviews and assessments can also help to ensure accountability and identify areas for improvement. Then we have implementing maybe a whistleblower protection mechanism. I know a lot of companies have done this. This is good because you can create channels for employees to report suspected fraud anonymously and really ensure protection against retaliation. Whistleblower protection mechanisms encourage transparency and also help to enable early detection of fraudulent activities. Next up, we have preventing fraud on a behavioral level. Behavioral fraud prevention focuses on shaping employee behavior and attitudes towards ethical conduct. By really instilling this culture of integrity and implementing controls that encourage ethical decision making, businesses can then help to deter fraudulent activities and really foster that culture of trust and accountability. So we have up on the board some things that we can do to help prevent things when it comes to fraud on a behavioral level. Firstly, making sure to promote this culture of ethics and integrity, fostering a workplace culture that values honesty, integrity, ethical behavior. That means that leadership should really lead by example and communicate the importance of ethical conduct through training, communication, and recognition as well. We can also do things like implement segregation of duties by separating critical duties among multiple employees to prevent any single individual from having too much control over a process. Segregation of duties also helps to reduce the risk of fraud by requiring collaboration and oversight into our processes. We can also help to enforce strong internal controls by implementing robust internal control procedures along the way, such as requiring that authorization for transactions, conducting regular reconciliations, and performing audits. Having these strong internal controls also help to ensure compliance with policies and regulations to be able to detect irregularities properly. And you might be thinking, okay, these first two areas or strategies only appear to be focusing on fraud committed internally within a business, and wondering maybe how you can protect against fraud attempts that come from external sources. That's where, of course, technology and technological fraud prevention really comes into play, where companies today can now leverage technology, and it's really becoming a gold standard for modern businesses looking to prevent and also to be able to detect fraud effectively by deploying advanced tools and solutions such as cybersecurity measures, fraud detection software, and things like automation tools. Organizations can help to enhance their ability to identify those suspicious activities and protect against evolving threats. So first up, it's important to implement cybersecurity measures to protect against unauthorized access, data breaches, and cyber threats. Secure IT infrastructure includes measures like encryption, having firewalls, intrusion detection systems, and regular security updates as well. Next, we can see deploying fraud detection tools, utilizing advanced analytics and data monitoring tools to detect patterns or anomalies indicative of fraudulent activity, especially when we have large data sets. Fraud detection tools analyze these large data sets to identify suspicious transactions or behavior in real time. And finally, last but not least, we have the implementation of automation solutions. Deploying automation solutions to help to streamline processes reduces manual errors and enhances efficiency overall within our P2P process and our financial processing. And automation reduces the risk of fraud by enforcing consistent controls, reducing the opportunities for manipulation or exploitation on our documents. And one type of automation that can be used for this is P2P or accounts payable automation. So let's now get into our next section. Now that we've gone over these three main areas, let's now talk a little bit more about the role of AP automation in fraud prevention. And for those of you who are not familiar with the concept of automation, accounts payable automation, or P2P automation, which you might have heard of. It's a modern approach to managing financial processes efficiently. It involves using technology to your advantage to streamline your tasks like processing invoices or approving your documents or payments and managing your supplier relationships. So with automation, it's helping a lot of companies today to reduce manual efforts, minimize the errors that you have, and speed up the overall workflow within your finance department. So by incorporating features like automated data capture and integration with your accounting system with Sun Systems, AP automation improves accuracy and compliance, and businesses can really today now benefit from this increased efficiency and control offered by adopting automation in your operations. On top of that, of course, which is our focus today, is that impact on fraud. And automation can incorporate many different aspects, features that not only simplify the AP or P2P process, but also make your processes much more secure and to help protect you against fraud. So we want to again hear back from our audience today, keep everyone involved and interacting. So again, feel free to write to us in the chat. We're going to keep our eyes out in the chat for your responses. We want to know, which of the following AP automation features do you think is the most important when it comes to fraud prevention? Is it A, artificial intelligence? Is it B, OCR and smart data extraction? Is it C, having defined workflows and responsibilities? Is it D, secure audit trails and traceability? Or is it E, all of the above? And now, while we're letting everyone respond to the chat, I can see a couple people are already sending in their responses. I just wanted to turn to you, Chris, because I know you're working with many different companies. They're coming to you looking for solutions. And so you've heard a lot of their pain points, the challenges that they're being faced with. When they're looking for fraud prevention, of this list, what do you think to them is the most important?
I mean, it could be a lot of them, but certainly there's a massive focus on artificial intelligence at the moment across all areas of organisations. Also, the security of audit trails.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's. I
yeah.
think yeah, or I think many might think all of the above, but yeah, certainly very important feature there.
I was going to say the same. If I had to guess, would say that E is probably going to be the top response. I see a lot of people answering in E. But I have to agree with you. A lot of people are looking into artificial intelligence today as there's lots of hype around AI, and a lot of companies are looking into ways that they can use it to their advantage. So let's take a look in the chat. I do see E popping up quite frequently, but I do see a couple people actually saying C as well, defined workflows and responsibilities. But like you said, many are also putting in A. I see a couple D's as well. So thank you again for writing to us in the chat. Let's now go into this next section where we're really focusing on automation and technology. All right, so as we were talking about different aspects, AI, OCR, fraud protection, when it comes to audit trails and automating this. They are all ways in which AP automation helps to prevent fraud. And there are many different aspects that we're going to be covering now. So let's start with the basics with AI, or artificial intelligence. Now, AI in AP automation plays a crucial role in bolstering fraud protection through various advanced technologies, including statistical analysis. Now, AI algorithms analyze historical data and usage patterns to detect non-standard amounts and identify potential duplicates in invoices or in our transactions by comparing current data with historical records. AI can also help to flag anomalies that may indicate fraudulent activities. So say, for example, your company receives an invoice from a supplier that you work with regularly, only you're sure that you've already paid for that one, and you think that they might be trying to get you to pay for it a second time, or it could just be an honest mistake. With artificial intelligence technologies in an automation platform, this technology is able to automatically search through its database within the solution and find a duplicate, avoiding a double payment. So also saving lots of time. Next we have is called RPA, or robotic process automation. Now, AI-driven RPA enables the systematic and automatic application of internal control rules across the accounts payable process, ensuring consistency and accuracy in enforcing control measures, such as validation or reviewing invoices, verifying supplier information, authorizing payments, and helping to reduce the risk of fraudulent transactions slipping through undetected. Then we have the extraction and analysis of data. AI algorithms are acting intelligently, and they can automatically help to extract and analyze data from invoices, from your receipts, and other financial documents to identify inconsistencies and suspicious patterns. So, for example, AI can help you to detect discrepancies in bank account numbers, in amounts that are coming in on incoming documents, or dates that may indicate falsification or manipulation of documents within the metadata. Also, it can detect things like alerting finance teams, to alert you right in the beginning so you don't have to take that time to go back to find that risk. We're going to see these alerts in just a moment in the demonstration. But what's more is that AI also really helps us to remove the manual data entry element of the AP process, so making it more difficult for figures, for documents to be fraudulently modified at the point of capture when they're imported into the system. Then last on this list here, we have document signature by checksum. AI-enabled AP automation systems calculate and store a unique checksum signature for each and every document brought into the platform, serving for our companies as an authentication mechanism to verify the integrity and the authenticity of the original document. So this checksum signature provides that additional layer of security against document tampering or forgery, helping to prevent fraudulent alterations or unauthorized changes. Now, here we're talking about AI, but I did mention another technology called OCR, or optical character recognition. Now, OCR helps us because OCR technology plays that crucial first role when it comes to automating our processes by picking up the information off of our documents, by converting the scanned or image-based documents, such as our invoices or receipts, into machine encoded text. This helps by digitizing and standardizing document content, and OCR enhances the visibility and transparency of financial transactions, making it much easier for organizations to detect discrepancies or irregularities that may indicate fraudulent activities. Now, in addition to this, OCR facilitates that comparison of extracted text with the original image to detect those alterations or tampering with your scanned documents. Discrepancies between the text and the image, such as forged signatures or manipulated invoice amounts, can be flagged right away for further investigation, really helping to prevent fraudulent schemes aimed at deceiving the organization. Now, there is a difference between OCR and what's called smart data extraction. A lot of companies are looking to ask what that difference is. Now, smart data extraction goes much further. It really goes beyond what's called a basic optical character recognition, or OCR, by using advanced algorithms and machine learning techniques to extract structured data from unstructured documents. This includes identifying that key data that we need, like our fields on our invoices, our invoice numbers, dates, amounts, supplier information from invoices, and other financial documents. And by automatically extracting and validating data with a higher degree of accuracy, smart data extraction minimizes the risk of human error and ensures the integrity of financial information. So smart data extraction algorithms go one step further than with OCR and can help to not only populate that information with OCR, but to go into analyze extracted data fields, understand the content on your document, and search for inconsistencies, irregularities that might indicate fraudulent activity. So for example, this could include something like deviations from typical invoice patterns, such as unusually high amounts or unexpected supplier names that can help to trigger an alert for further investigation. Additionally, smart data extraction systems can compare extracted data from incoming invoices and historical transactions to identify those discrepancies and unusual patterns before they escalate. And finally, we have a next technology called full text indexing. Now, full text indexing involves indexing the entire text context of our documents, enabling organizations to then search and retrieve information based on keywords and phrases. In the context of API automation, full text indexing allows organizations to quickly locate and access relevant documents such as invoices, purchase orders, contracts for review and audit purposes. And then you can look into this as far as the data analytics, the trend analysis, helping your company to identify patterns and anomalies within this information. By leveraging these search capabilities for full text indexing, you have red flags or indicators of potential fraud within document content, and you can then go back to refer to this with a simple click of a button to search up that either keyword or multiple keywords or phrases, no matter where they're found within that document. Now up on the board, we can see a quick kind of diagram that goes around, and we're taking a look at defined approval workflows quickly before we go into the next section. This can be typically found in API automation, as well as how we were talking earlier about segregation of duties. So what we can see here is a typical example of a workflow for an invoice passing through an API automation system. And once an invoice has arrived on the platform, it then passes through a number of different verification and approval steps that have been predefined by your company to automatically then be applied to the document according to its characteristics. So for example, invoices from a certain provider may be dealt with by a particular person, or any invoices with an amount over a certain limit might need to pass via management, for example. Now, this contributes towards fraud prevention because defined approval workflows within your automation platform establishes for you these structured processes for reviewing and authorizing our financial transactions and ensuring that each and every step of the process is documented, reviewed, and approved by the appropriate individuals, reducing the risk of unauthorized fraudulent activities slipping through undetected. Now, again, we can segregate the duties how we like, and we'll see that in just a minute within our workflows. And finally, last but not least, when it comes to fraud prevention in automation, we have reliable audit trails. And reliable audit trails serve as this critical aspect or tool in preventing fraud by providing a comprehensive record of transaction history and activities. So let's go a little bit deeper into this, starting with permanent and documented checks. Having these checks embedded within your audit trail ensures that every action taken within your automation platform or system is being recorded and cannot be altered or deleted. So this meticulous documentation establishes accountability and transparency. Sorry, let me go back. And next we can see is, of course, exporting the history associated with the invoice. This is important because exporting this history is making sure that you have that comprehensive audit trail. All of your relevant actions, changes, approvals, and access logs are going to be exported with this history, and this is serving for your company as tangible evidence of compliance and internal policies and regulatory standards. This is really helping companies to empower them so that you know that you can export this history at any time in a very structured format. And finally, we have archiving and the viewing of the original file. So this secure kind of connection that you have within this original file within the system allows organizations to go back to verify the transaction accuracy and legitimacy, helping again to reduce the risk of fraud. Displaying files in their original format also ensures authenticity, giving your stakeholders confidence in your document reliability. All right, we've gone quite far into this. And so next, we're going to go to just this quick last section into what else to look out for when choosing an API automation solution for fraud protection. And we want to hear back from you one last time. So if you don't mind, keep writing to us in the chat. We love hearing back your answers. And we want to know kind of where you are in this process with your team when you're looking for an automation solution. Is it A, haven't started looking yet but are interested to learn more? Is it B, you started looking but maybe need a little bit more guidance? Or is it C, who've already started looking into automation solutions? Now, Chris, sorry, there's an echo with the microphone, but I wanted to turn back to you because companies, more and more companies today are coming to you for help. Do you think compared to
Mhm.
in the past, more companies are looking into automation than in the past?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing an awful lot of customers looking to increase their automation at the moment. So I would expect that a lot of customers are already looking. I would definitely say it'd be leaning towards C.
I can see there are a couple A's saying that they haven't started looking at, but I do see many more B's and C's coming into the chat. So that's a good sign. That means that companies, you're already doing your job, you're doing your homework, looking into different solutions, comparing the different aspects and the features within the solutions, because the whole goal is for you to find the most adapted solution to fit your specific needs. So thank you again to those of you who answered into the chat. Again, I love seeing those responses coming back. All right, that wraps up our last poll question. We have this next section. We're really just giving you some last other useful AP automation features to look for when it comes to fraud. Of course, looking into cloud-based AP automation solutions help to offer that enhanced security measures such as encryption, firewalls, multi-factor authentication, which safeguards our sensitive financial data against unauthorized access and data breaches. You also get real time monitoring capabilities no matter where your teams are working from, whether it be remotely or in a hybrid working situation. Then we have legally compliant archiving. This is another top factor that companies are looking into. And legally compliant archiving features in an AP automation solution helps to ensure that financial documents are securely stored. They're also retained for a required duration that you need, maintaining the integrity of your financial records. The duration in the UK is typically up to 6 years. And this is helping just to have that secure access, the controls, the restricted authorizations, access to your sensitive documents when you have that archiving, and especially when it's in a digital form. And last but not least, we have when it comes to choosing a platform that has single sign on capabilities. This helps to streamline the authentication process within our teams by allowing users to access multiple applications and systems within a single set of credentials, enhancing security by minimizing password related vulnerabilities. With that centralized identity management and access control, administrators can then easily manage user access permissions and really ensure that not only authorized individuals are accessing the AP automation systems, but also to help prevent unauthorized access and potential fraudulent activities on the documents. All right, just before I jump into the demo, I just wanted to pop this up on the screen because this is a diagram that shows how the use system has been broken down. And we've done it purposely with different sections where you can see different blocks or modules because we know each company is unique. And some companies are looking to automate the full end-to-end P2P process. And other companies are maybe looking to automate just part of the process, like, for example, capturing documents, sending them through a secure workflow process. So we've done it this way because you can actually mix and match to create a customized tool that's seamlessly connected with your ERP system, with Sun Systems. And you have what's called the no-touch process, where up to 80% or more of your total document flows can flow through what's called a no-touch process. That means there's no human intervention needed whatsoever. You can also activate things like a purchasing module where you can raise requisitions, take advantage of unlimited budgets that you can track within use. And then once your documents are automatically captured, you can then take advantage of two-way and three-way matching that's automatically taking place within the system before the documents are then sent off to multiple levels of secure approvals within these workflows before they're automatically exported off into Sun Systems. Of course, there's tons of other aspects in the system, like, for example, legal archiving, audit trails. We're going to now take a deeper look into this now with our live demonstration. So I'm now going to switch my screen over and I'm going to log into an example platform Of course, each client, when you log into the Use system, everything that you see in your platform is going to be fully customized to your specific project. You can see that I have a secure connection when I'm logging into the Use system, and I can set up an unlimited number of users. I can click here to have access to a help center where I can ask questions and get help. I have a Use University link, which are live sessions talking about new features coming into the platform, and I can set up my profile as I'd like. I can set up delegations for absences to really help when people are out of office or when they're going out. And I can also set it up how I'd like, in the order I'd like, or even choose the theme that I'd like to set up so that the entire organization has the same theme, or you can allow for each individual to customize their use interface as they'd like. The goal behind this system was to set it up in a user-friendly way so that no matter who's connecting, you feel comfortable navigating through this very straightforward platform that you can customize. All right, let's start off going through a tour of the system by capturing a document live. So we can see this OCR and smart data extraction process taking place with the AI smart data extraction. Now, first off, I can drag and drop a document here into this file upload area. So with a simple drag and drop or by selecting a file, I can pick up my document, select the unit that I'd like from a list of unlimited units, and select from a long list of different document types into the system. Now, of course, you can automate documents from within the purchase to pay process, like supplier invoices. But this is great because you can also use this tool to digitally archive other types of documents, like across various other different services. A quick example could be, for example, corporate or legal documents from another department. You can digitally archive them within Use. I'll select my document type, which is a PO-based document, and here I have split options. So even if you have physical paper documents, you can stack them up in a large batch, send them into the system in a single file, and with AI smart data extraction, they can automatically be split for you in the system. We have an automatic email capture where companies can now connect with an unlimited number of emails. And with this, you can set up customized rules to only flag in the relevant documents into the system. This is taking place with no human intervention. You can also import in a various number of other customizable ways. And you can also add in additional information to your documents if you'd like, even for example, a highlight color to flag that document through the system. Now, today we're focusing on fraud protection. So as soon as this document has been imported, it's going to be going through this process in the Use environment. Now, like I said, we've set this up in a way that's very visually straightforward. So here at the bottom, I have a list of all of the files that have been brought into my system, so I can keep track of those files. I can see who has imported the documents, on what date, and for which company. And I can see when a document is passing through the using process. That means that this set of technologies that we discussed in today's presentation is working hard in the background to protect us against fraudulent attempts. So not only with OCR is all of the content, the fields, the numbers, the symbols from this document being picked up, but with AI smart data extraction, the content on this document is actually being understood in an intelligent way, thanks to these built-in algorithms, acting similarly to a human brain. So this document is going to be treated intelligently and then automatically sent off to our next steps within our workflows to make sure that if there's an anomaly found on this document, if there's a discrepancy within these amounts, if there's a change within the metadata or the bank details, the Use system will pop up with you with a quick alert that you and your team can see so you can flag that fraudulent attempt at the source. This is taking place in real time. So if I refresh the screen, I can see that this using process is now finished for me. And if I just pop here into my task dashboard, I can now see this document that we just flagged together is now popping up for me, ready to be checked. Because this is a PO-based document, Use also checked within the system to see if there was any open document that was matching. You can see that this was a 100% match. So we can click into this example, and we can now verify and double check this information. Now here at the top, I can see a list of all of the information, the properties that have been brought off of this document. So I can quickly click onto them. I can see this been highlighted for me, so I can double check that information. And I also have a full audit trail in this history section. So I can click into this audit trail. I can check every single bit of information on this document from A to Z. I can check any linked documents that are taking place. Of course, I have a budget tracker to keep track, and I have my entries coming in from my ERP system. So let's go back, and now that we've checked out a PO-based example, let's click into a non-PO-based example. Now here, of course, is where I can click to raise a purchase request, import purchase information, track late and blocked documents. I also have an in progress section to track my documents, and I have a completed section where I can track everything that's been completed automatically in the use system. Now, I can filter what I see on the left-hand side. I can filter into one of my units for the day if I need to, but I can also filter by type of document, third party, or date, so I can see and access that information quickly. Now let's take a quick example. I can see an example of a document that hasn't been fully completed, and there's an alert that's going to be popping up for me on this particular document. Now, because this is the first time I'm receiving a document from this particular supplier, I can see that Use has alerted me that it's done an automatic split for me. But because this is the first time, through machine learning, I'll make an assignment. And then in the future with deep learning, I have the option for Use to memorize this. Now, we were talking about full text indexing, and we have a technology called click and recognition. So I can actually click on the document itself to extract the properties off of the document. So whether it be amounts, whether it be line descriptions, I can also modify this document as I need. If I need to add a line, make a duplicate, or delete a line, I can also do things like pick up a full column of information, a full sentence, a full paragraph. I can add amounts together or even pick up words off of the document. So thanks to this AI smart data extraction technology, I can save tons of time for my team when I need to handle these exceptions. Now, anytime there's an anomaly or discrepancy, there'll be an alert that pops up for us at the top. And when we submit this document on, we can now see the deep learning coming into play, where Use will ask us, do you want Use to learn this data for your next documents? So I can click on yes, and in the future, the system will then memorize this process for me. Now let's go back into our in progress section, and we now, thanks to the system, have full traceability. So we can at any point along the process, we can see who's responsible for these documents and the next step that needs to be taken. So I can now then impersonate our approver. Let's log in and see the approver. So this approver will now have the final say. And thanks to these workflow tasks, only the right individuals will get their hands on my documents in the right time. So here, popping up for me, ready in my Oxford unit, I can see this document that we just sent off for approval is ready to be approved. And now as the approver, I can check in again on things, for example, like my entries, my budget tracker. I can track to see things. So before approving, I can see the percentage that's been reached on this budget. I can even do things like send out effective communications directly to my suppliers by sending that off directly to them. All right, let's now approve this document and send it on. And what we'll see next is that thanks to our approval workflows, the documents can then be automatically exported at the frequency that we like into our ERP system. So here I have multiple different exports that have been set up. And here the document that we just processed flagged in red is now ready to be exported in my Sun Systems export. Of course, this can be done manually, instantly at the frequency that you'd like. We'll now set this off to our export, and we can see that there are now reports being created for us in the system. I also have a statistics section, so every point in time I can check and track things. I can check into these analytics to check, for example, the numbers of documents in progress, the amounts over time that my team has been processing, and I can use these customizable KPI indicators to keep my team on track and also for fraud prevention. Last but not least, I have this quick search bar where, like I said, we have full text indexing. So you can even type in a keyword, even Anywhere that document has that word, you can find it. We can see it flagged here on this document popping up here. And no matter where it is, even if it's not in the header, you can find that word popping up. But also in the search bar, you can create saved searches and you can also create reports. So you can, for example, click into one of your reports and click on this button here, and you have 5 different templates to send off these reports to your different team members. So let's say I have a yearly report that I would like to create. All I have to do is click on OK and yes. And with this double verification, when I open up my report, Use will allow me to log into the system. Of course, we want to make sure with that double protection that you're logged into the system. So as soon as I'm logged in, you can have access to these quick and easy reports so your team can now have full traceability into your operations. You can see everything has been traced for me here. Important things like, for example, the number of invoices that have been tracked per organization, things like, for example, the amount evolution per organization. And of course, within your company, you can then customize, modify these graphs within the report section to send them out. All right, that now brings us to the end of our demonstration. We have a little bit of time left because I'm sure you might have some follow-up questions for us. Let's now get back to our presentation. Chris, thank you again on behalf of myself and the entire Use team for inviting us in on today's webinar. We're really excited to talk a little bit more about fraud protection and the importance of this and to show everyone how the solution works. So let's now go into our live Q&A session. Just going to see if there's any questions from today's audience. Let's go ahead and double check. I can see that there's maybe 1 or 2 questions coming in. This question says, you discussed the 3 different approaches to preventing fraud. Do you think one is more important than the other, or is it worth focusing on these 3 areas? I think this is almost a trick question because, of course, all 3 areas are very important. From my aspect, I know technology is becoming more and more important today. I know, Chris, you're saying as well that a lot of companies are coming to you looking into things like AI and automation. So I would say, of course, focus on the behavioral aspect within your companies, setting clear procedures and policies. Also on that cultural aspect, creating a culture of trust within your company, but also doing things like implementing solutions. So you have those automatic detections, and fraud protections is also becoming an extra layer of protection, because the human aspect will always be very important to us, but having the technology to help our teams is also becoming crucial so they can save time and do things like catch fraudulent attempts in large data sets that something like the human eye is sometimes not capable of seeing off the bat. I don't know, Chris, if you have any other aspects to add in.
No, I think you've covered it really succinctly, Chelsea. I think that's absolutely what we're seeing with customers, and we're happy to support customers with individual demos or further discussions as needed.
Absolutely. A couple more questions maybe. Or I do see one. It says, you mentioned audit trails and reporting. Can you further explain how I can use reporting or statistics to prevent fraud? Really good question. So being able to report on your transactions, all the documents that are coming through the system will help you to be able to track and see if there are any kind of patterns or anomalies within those patterns. So you can check to see if you have unusual amounts. You can also check within these reports to see if there were any mistakes on the documents, for example. So you can see how many steps within your workflows were taken. So you can check each individual person within the timeline report, for example. You can see the amount of time that it's taken each person. So you can flag to see if maybe certain team members were taking an unusual amount of time being spent within a certain aspect of the process or not. These are just some quick examples of ways that you can use these statistics and the reporting to track fraudulent attempts or to help you to prevent fraud. I don't know if there's any last questions in the chat. Chris, on your side, do you see any last questions coming in?
I don't see anything else coming in, but just really want to reiterate what you said earlier, Chelsea, that if there's anything that you're just too shy to ask in front of the wider audience, or that you want to discuss with us individually, or that you think of after the session, sometimes as soon as we're gone, questions come to mind, but don't be shy. Please feel free to reach out to us. Our contact details are there on the screen. And yet, just get in touch if you'd like to discuss further with any questions or to arrange a demo.
Perfect. Thank you again, Chris, for inviting me. I really enjoyed today's session
Thank
and I
you.
loved hearing back from the audience as well. Like Chris said, don't hesitate to scan that QR code to get in touch with the KIC team. They're always happy and eager to help you get your project started. Thanks again for tuning in, Chris.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.